With schedule set and OTAs underway, it's time to revisit the NFL futures betting markets, more specifically long shots. That's right, we're locking in some absolute gainers for you tonight. All this and more. It's a brand new episode of the IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. And welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're focused more on the latter in this episode of the program as we go big game hunting for some NFL futures with huge payouts. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and life's good as I've got the usual cast of characters back in the saddle today, including a man who's a big business, light ranching son of a gun. He's Eric, Raise the Roof Romoff. Eric, how are you feeling as we take aim at some long shots? I know that's typically the only type of future bet you like to play, so you got to feel right at home here, man.
Yeah, this is right in my wheelhouse. If I'm going to tie my money up for a while, there better be some juice associated with it. So we are definitely straight down the fairway for me, and we're getting closer. Right, July's around the corner. It feels like we're gonna be watching training camp here before we know it.
It's heating up soon. The rumor mill already spinning. Stephon Diggs doing little pink substances, potentially, allegedly down at the beach as well. So all is right in the world. Also joining us is Boston's boy. He's our entertainment and football betting pundit here at IBT. He's Steve Lawson. What's going on, Steven?
Oh, not too much, man. Happy Pride to everybody out there. It's my favorite month of the year. Everything just gets so much more gay and wonderful. So I'm having a great time. Things are great though. I'm the vibes are incredibly high. I missed being on the show. It's weird how just missing 1 week makes me feel so far away from you guys. But I was out in your neck of the woods, Seth. And
Yes.
I relearned geography that Ohio is in fact west of Pennsylvania. I don't know why my brain had those flipped.
It is true. Yeah, I was telling Steve that right in between himself and Ohio, somewhere in the middle is Pennsylvania. He didn't believe it. That is the case. Glad I could teach you a little geography. And as noted tonight on the program, we're going to teach a little bit about long shots tonight with between bets when we get into the futures markets. Also, we got a little off the top for you. That's our cut one game. And before we get going, shout out to the IBT family who's tuning in with us. We just crossed 1.5K subscribers. We couldn't do it without your support. As always, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. And be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com for some fantastic written content. While you're over on the site, consider getting a ticket to Draft Night Out. That's our live fantasy football draft at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio this August. If you want to come draft with us and 200 plus of our favorite fantasy football friends, this is the event for you. We'll have a shot wheel spinning, songs singing, giveaways going off, and everything in between. The link for that is also in the episode description. Eric, I know not only do I get to see you for Draft Night Out, but we'll be together in the Poconos for our NASCAR weekend here in just a couple of weeks as well. I'm looking forward to that, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I'm often there in the Keystone State, but I've never quite made it up to the Poconos. So we'll be doing the thing from the Tricky Triangle here the weekend of the 21st. So definitely make sure that you are tuned in to all of our NASCAR coverage. We are one of the best outfits out there doing it, in my humble opinion. So stoked to see the boss man and to get a little bit closer to some motorsports. Stoked to see all the great content that's going to come out of it too.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's going to be
an invite, guys.
Hey, we floated the invite out to the entire office. That was out there. It's still out there for you, Steve, if you want to take a little trip down to the Pocono and smell a little gasoline in the air all weekend long up there in the great area of Pocono Mountains.
Maybe.
Maybe, he says. All right. Well, we'll keep you here with the NFL betting where you belong then, Steve. And guys, let's go ahead and crack that open here in between bets.
Between bets. Between bets.
It is between bets, and tonight we're talking long shots. But before we get there, I did want to give everyone an opportunity to go back to a couple previous episodes. We did our offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year episode. We also did a first early look at the futures betting market. So I wanted to go back through our previous cards, kind of lay out what our current portfolio looks like. And Eric, starting with you, man, if you can just kind of walk through some of the bets that we've placed in previous episodes. Don't need any analysis or anything like that. Just let the people know what you're currently down on.
Yeah, definitely go back and check out that episode if you want some of the analysis. I think a lot of it still holds true and holds steady. But my previous portfolio, as I touched off the top, I like longer shots if my money's going to be tied up for a while. So looking at some underdogs and off the radar options, went with Shamar Stewart as the defensive rookie of the year. That was at plus 2,000 money. RJ Harvey as the offensive rookie of the year, plus 2,500. Joe Burrow as our MVP, getting plus 750 over at BetMGM for that one. Probably my favorite bet of the entire portfolio, Kevin O'Connell to repeat as coach of the year for some unknown reason, plus 5,000 over at ESPN Bet.
Yeah.
Houston Texans would be my chalkiest pick to win the AFC South, plus 140. Arizona Cardinals taking it down in the West. That'll get you plus 650 over at BetMGM. And then I also have a bit of an amalgam bet is how I categorize this one. It is a first-time Super Bowl winner to take down the title to hoist the Lombardi at the end of the season. That's getting you plus 170 at DraftKings. And if I recall, I think it's got 4 of the top 7 odds makers or odds getters, shortest odds in terms of their individual markets. So that one will be a fun one to sweat out. And then last but not least, kind of tying into my Joe Burrow MVP card, is the Bengals to have at least one passing touchdown in every single game. That's a juicy plus 750 over at DraftKings.
Yeah, Eric, you drink absolutely no juice. There's never minus money on your betting cards when it comes to these futures, which I can appreciate. You save it all for us kids over here with Steve and myself. Steve, what do you currently have on your betting card heading into this episode before we lay out any new bets?
Yeah, I have a few that I'm really excited about, and I'm still excited about all of these, so I wouldn't back off any of them. Starting out with Teteroa McMillan as Offensive Rookie of the Year. That's going at plus 1,200. Abdul Carter to win Defensive Rookie of the Year at plus 275. I have the New York Jets to win the AFC East at plus 1,500 over at BetMGM. That's probably my craziest one.
Yeah.
Me and Eric are kind of in lockstep with the Bengals. I have Jamar Chase winning Offensive Player of the Year at plus 1,000 over at DraftKings. And then Jaden Daniels winning MVP at plus 1,100.
Yeah, I should have got in when you did on Daniels. He's now like plus 750. I've seen an 8-1 float out on there, but I talked about it when you first threw that bet up there that maybe that was a squad ride. I think I missed my opportunity there. So good on you, Steve. This is why we kind of have these episodes throughout the offseason to make sure we're getting the best opening line value, have a little CLV when it comes out to it. So to go over my portfolio with you guys quickly as well. I only have 2 units invested coming into this episode, so I definitely left myself a little bit of room to make some bigger plays here this weekend. Cam Scatterbo, I have him long shot 100-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, 0.2 of a unit. I have the Titans to win the Super Bowl. I originally placed this at DraftKings. They let me cash out of it, get my full 0.2 of a unit back. And then I saw over at FanDuel for 230-1 instead of my 200-1. So I jumped on that. I love placing futures at FanDuel specifically. They're one of the most aggressively hedging books when it comes to cashing you out. So that's kind of the play there for the Titans. Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North plus 550 at FanDuel. That number is long gone. That's my biggest bet so far of the offseason. 1.2 units. And I also have Malik Nabers, Offensive Player of the Year, 50-1 at FanDuel, which is still out there. Last time I checked as well, 0.4 of a unit for me. So, guys, let's go ahead. Let's open up some bets for this episode here. And I want to start with one that, Steve, you already have in your arsenal. I touched on it, that I was going to keep my head on a swivel for it. Not necessarily a long shot, but did want to let everyone know I am a man of my word. I did end up placing a plus 344 bet at BetRivers. I used a 25% boost that they gave me for any market. I used it on Abdul to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. This was originally plus 275 over there from our friends at Pittsburgh. And I love this because specifically an edge has won this award 6 of the past 7 seasons. Carter, we talked about him a lot on this program. Comes out of Penn State. He's a blend of a speed and a power rusher. Led the country in tackles for loss with 24. Tied for the 6th most sacks in the country as well with 12. And this was in the Big Ten, one of the best conferences for O-line play. I mean, we saw all those Ohio State offensive linemen get drafted early in the NFL draft back in April. And this was also the first season of Abdul playing edge. He traditionally had always played off ball, kind of exactly like Micah Parsons, but Parsons never got even a full year on the edge in college at Penn State. So I see a lot of similarities there. And Carter, to me, is just not going to be getting doubled a lot on a line with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Sexy Dexy clogging up the middle. So I'm really happy here, Eric, to grab a little Abdul Defensive Rookie of the Year, plus 344 at BetRivers. This is why I wait for these boosts, because these sports books, they want you invested, and they're going to give you a little bit of extra money to play around with here.
Yeah, that is absolutely the takeaway in terms of this card that you filed, right? Plus 344 is beautiful odds for who, in my book, should be the favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And the overarching point is the one that you finished with, right? Like, these books, they are now competing against each other in a very, very competitive marketplace, and they will give you boosts. They will give you free play. They will give you all kinds of different motions in order to place your bet and to wager at their shop, right? So make sure that if you are investing in a futures market, you're shopping around, you're finding the best odds, you're moving yourself to a platform that maybe is a little bit more aggressive with buyouts, or you finally file that card, that ticket, with a place that is willing to make it a plus EV wager for you because of their promotions.
And Steve, I know you like Abdul Carter. You're working on your NFL power rankings currently for the website, and you like the Giants a lot despite the tough schedule. Do you think really the only thing that could slow Carter down is if Burns, Thibodeau, and Abdul kind of just like eat off each other, and maybe they each have 6 or 7 sacks? Do you think that's maybe the only way he doesn't win this award?
Yeah, I think really does Kayvon Thibodeau start, right? Like, that's really what it is. I think you are relying on Brian Burns starting and doing well this season for this to hit. If Brian Burns has a down year, I don't think Carter's going to be able to pull it off, because he needs, as a rookie, he's going to need that little bit of help, that little bit of a, they need to double team Brian Burns, double team Dexter Lawrence, and that will free him up to kind of go one-on-one. It's really going to come down to playing time with Thibodeau and how much New York wants to pivot away from Thibodeau. I wouldn't be shocked if they trade Kayvon Thibodeau at this point. I think
you would think they would trade someone, right? And it would
feels like that's what they would do, unless Thibodeau is much better off ball, like off the line, than we think he is. Or they think Abdul Carter's better off the line. That's the other thing that could really sneak up and like hurt us, is they draft him and then he's going to be like a hybrid, and he's going to bounce between pass coverage and blitzing.
We saw Parsons do that his rookie year a lot, kind of going back and forth. And maybe it's a little bit of a rotation there where it is Carter playing maybe a little bit of off ball, and then we see Thibodeau go off the field, and then it's Carter back on the edge here. What do you think, Eric? How do you think they make these like 3 studs on the edge work when there's really only 2 traditional edge positions for them to play?
I think it's going to be a rotation, right? Probably leader in the clubhouse is exactly what you say. I think we see Thibodeau likely heading out of town. But in the event that they are all there for the entirety of the season, there are going to be a lot of different looks that they're trotting out there, both for the sake of confusing their opposition, keeping them on their heels, but also just finding where that sweet spot is, right? Obviously, it wasn't quite as crowded a room of edge rushers, but you look back to the Texans a few years ago, and Anderson was over there getting a ton of push, but not a ton of sacks. And I think we're going to
Sure.
see one of these three guys kind of fall into that category that is ultimately really, really tightening the pocket on the quarterback, but maybe not converting over into sacks. In terms of which one it is, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of
Yeah.
variety in this rotation in my mind.
All right, Eric, I'm throwing it over to you for your first future long shot of the evening. And this is one of that has to do with a team out there in the West that is coming off maybe one of their more disappointing seasons in the last decade or so.
Yeah, that being the San Francisco 49ers. We saw what this team can do around coaching and scheme and having a very rich and deep roster over the preceding seasons. And last year, it all just kind of fell apart, largely by way of injury. And now we roll the ball forward to 2025, and we're looking at a team that, yes, has some new faces, but is still one of the more talented teams top to bottom in all of the NFL, and on the whole actually has the most favorable strength of schedule rating in all of the NFL. So I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers to be the last undefeated team in the NFL. This will get you plus 1,400 over at ESPN Bet. There are a few other teams that are near the top of that strength of schedule, or I guess bottom of strength of schedule rating, that are getting some pretty interesting odds. But what put me over the top for San Francisco was really a pretty practical argument. All of those other teams that you would consider, they all have a top 5, top 8 opponent somewhere in the first 4 or 5 weeks of their schedule. Whereas you crack open the schedule for San Francisco and you're talking Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville. The Rams can be tricky. Tampa Bay would probably be a coin flip. Atlanta, Houston's probably a coin flip, right? Like very, very competitive games, or games that they should win pretty easily, all the way up until like well past the halfway point of the season. So that strength of schedule combined with what I think will be a bounce back year for the San Francisco offense, and just specifically how that schedule opens up, I like them to hold a 0 in the loss column for longer than anybody else in 2025.
Steve, how long do you think that the Niners will have to go to be the last undefeated team? Because I'll tell you this, they are going to play the Rams for the second time in week 10, and I don't think they can get past the Rams with a 2-0 record this season. So I think that would be almost the line of demarcation for me.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to. Yeah, they'll probably have to go double-digit weeks. That's just what I think. I don't know the schedule off the top of my head for every team, so to say that is, probably a little bold. But I think there's certainly situations where teams may, like the Bills, right, playing a really weak division. If their division schedule is kind of like top heavy, where they play a lot of their division early, they could be undefeated until week 10, week 11. It certainly can happen. The 49ers would have to do something pretty substantial, I think, to be the last undefeated team standing, though. I don't think they are a very complete football team at all at this point. And I think
Lost a lot on defense.
Lost a lot
young
on
guys.
defense, and there's a lot of injuries on offense, and they're putting a lot of faith in Brock Purdy to be able to carry a big load offensively.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Eric, what is it about the 49ers? Like, what do you think the X factor is this season? Is it CMC's health? Is it those young players on the defense stepping up? We know they made a big selection in their first round going after a great edge rusher out of Georgia.
Yeah, I think that they addressed a lot of the exiting defensive players by way of the draft. Obviously, there is an unknown as to whether or not those rookies will immediately come in and fill those shoes. But I think the floor is a lot higher by replacing them with blue chip or at least highly rated prospects. So I don't think we're just going to see them completely bottom out. Also, I think that, I mean, if nothing else, this is really a vote of confidence in the Kyle Shanahan system, right? Like,
Sure.
He knows exactly what type of players he needs to have on his roster to effectively execute his system. We've seen him for seemingly forever now, decades now, take what look like fairly average teams on paper and make them competent, if not competitive, right? And I think that if that's the bar, coupled with a schedule that I think opens up really soft, it's enough to where I feel comfortable, creeping in a half unit, a quarter unit on plus 1,400 odds. The Bills are another team that have a very soft strength of schedule overall. They open up with the Baltimore Ravens, right? They've got Kansas City a few weeks after that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's more about how the schedule breaks out, right? Like I think that San Francisco will be favored, or at least within a field goal spread in every single one of their first 9 or 10 games.
Yeah, I'm really interested in potentially finding other ways to get invested in San Francisco. I don't know if that's a CMC comeback player of the year ticket. I know he had pretty short odds for that, but if you're interested in 49ers tickets, they're definitely out there. You're getting some decent value compared to previous seasons there. So I'm going to keep it out west, but I'm going to move to the AFC with my next long shot. I'm going Ashton Jeanty with the most regular season rushing yards among all players, 20-1 at ESPN bet. I'm going 0.6 of a unit. And I've been trying to find a way to get invested from a betting perspective on Ashton Jeanty, who is my RB1 this season for fantasy football purposes. I thought, okay, maybe I'll go over 1,200 yards, which I still might do. That's 2-1 payout for him to get over 1,200 yards on the ground. Offensive rookie of the year plus 250. That's okay. But to me, like, I'm saying screw it. I'm going with it. I'm going all in on the kid to lead the league in rushing yards at 20-1 from ESPN bet here. And this happened 3 years in a row from 2016 to 2018. We saw Ezekiel Elliott do it. We saw Kareem Hunt do it. And then we saw Saquon Barkley do it. But it has not happened since. But Jeanty is also the highest drafted running back we've seen since Saquon Barkley as well, who went second overall. So to me, I'm going to bet on a guy who averaged 28.4 touches last season for Boise State. He joins the Raiders team that spent the 6th overall pick on him. And they have Raheem Mostert, who's, a good player when he's healthy. Sincere McCormick, Zamir White, Dylan Laub. Guys are kind of just guys, Jags, if you would. And Pete Carroll, to me, he's always one to win with defense, running the ball. We know Chip Kelly is going to be on the sticks once again. And if there's one thing we know about Chip is that he likes to run his offense at a high pace. So I think we easily see 300-plus rushing attempts for Ashton Jeanty by way of the ground. And I'm also kind of fading some of these old heads at the top of this market. Saquon Barkley's going off to lead the league in rushing at 3-1. He's coming off 500-plus touches. Derrick Henry. I don't think Derrick Henry at 4-1 is a bad bet by any means. But if the Ravens are the team that we think they are, maybe he's on the pine for week 17 and 18. They're saving him for a potential Lombardi run. JT off the board at 8-1. I'm just fading him as a whole. I've seen enough of Jonathan Taylor. I think he's lost a little bit of a step here with the injuries. I'm fading the Colts as a whole as well. CMC, we touched on him, maybe comeback player of the year, but still potentially dealing with that Achilles tendonitis. Bijan Robinson. Bijan's a dual threat player. I think he's a little mispriced here to be above Ashton Jeanty, especially when they have a young quarterback that can sling the ball around a little bit. Jahmyr Gibbs is at 16-1. Dave Montgomery's there, so I don't think that can really hit. And then Josh Jacobs at 18-1, which I don't think is another bad long shot if you want some exposure to Jacobs. However, the Packers kind of signaled to me in the draft, Steve, that maybe they want to throw the ball around a little bit. Golden round 1, saving Williams in round 3. So for me, man, it's just like the Raiders, they'll never have a time they're going to be able to rest players, and they're going to have to lean on Jeanty to win games and keep the ball away from quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix. So 20-1 feels like a great number for me, my friend.
Yeah, 20-1, that's great odds for a guy who's just an absolute stud running back. There's no one who's out there like knocking this guy's talent or being like, oh, I don't really think he's going to be that good in the NFL. Like everyone is just absolutely sold on the idea of him being good. What I'm not sold on, the only reason I'm like about this is Chip Kelly. His offense doesn't translate really to the NFL.
True.
We saw running back struggle. We saw Shady McCoy struggle with him. We saw DeMarco Murray struggle with him. And both of them were off of pretty substantially effective seasons. And it just doesn't look good. That outside zone running scheme that he loves to go to. I don't know if the Raiders have the offensive line really to pull that off.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
They're lacking in the weapons department too. I know they have Brock Bowers, but other than that, like who's pulling that focus for them right now? It's a little tricky. I think Jeanty's going to get a lot of opportunity, but I do have a name that I think is a little bit better. If you want a long shot odd to lead the league in rushing, that would be Devon Achane out in Miami. Home run hitter, healthy year. You got a healthy Tua. If those two stay healthy, he could very well lead the league in rushing because he's so explosive.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if he'll see quite the volume to get himself there. I can't check to see what those odds are, but Eric, what do you think that could hold Jeanty back from cashing this ticket for me? Are you with Steve that it's maybe just the unprovenness of the Chip Kelly offense working at the pro level, or just the Raiders offensive line that does have a little bit of holes in it, to say the least, coming into 2025?
The latter. I think if anything's going to hold him back, it's much more to do with the offensive line that he's running behind than the Chip Kelly offense. Steve's points about what we've seen Chip Kelly do with his running backs when he was in the NFL previously are bang on. It was not a fun time. But I think the Chip Kelly that's coming into Las Vegas is a different play caller than the one that was in the NFL last. He's still going out there with a ton of pace, but he's actually shown the adoption and the implementation of some more modern concepts. He's shown the ability to support prolific ground games like the one that birthed Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson out of Ohio State this last season, right? So, I don't think he's necessarily a slam dunk by any means, that being Chip Kelly, but I don't have the concern that I had for him previously, given what I've seen him do most recently as a play caller in the college ranks. Honestly, I kind of love this call on Ashton Jeanty, specifically for the reason that you said. If you're filing this ticket, if you're placing this bet, it's because you're fading some of the old heads, and those old heads are really the only thing that has, at least in recent memory, prevented a fairly in-range season from being the one that wins the day in terms of most rushing yards. Last year, Saquon Barkley, 2005. The year before that, Derrick Henry, 1,921. Prior to that point, except for those 2 years, it's about 1,400 or 1,500 yards that is finishing the season as the most productivity on the ground, and that's very much so in the range of Jeanty's projection, given the volume that we're anticipating him getting. So I don't think it's going to be necessarily super efficient, right?
Because it could
of
be
those offensive line struggles.
Four flat.
If he's going to go out there and carry the ball 300-ish times, I think he could totally land at 1,500 yards, and that might be enough to get it done this year.
Agreed with you there, Steve. Achane 40-1 in this market. So if you're liking the Miami Dolphins running back to maybe have a nice sprint out there, that's a good number for you. Eric, I'm throwing it back to you here. Malik Nabers is the focus of your next long shot.
Yeah, I've kind of been locking in on the Giants markets overall, and Malik Nabers just sticks out like a sore thumb, right? In this context in particular, we're talking about him leading the league in terms of receiving yards. You're able to go out there and get that at plus 1,200 by way of our friends at ESPN Bet.
Wow.
I love the number on this, specifically that book. Most other books, he's floating between plus 850 and plus 1,000, give or take. So nice price on that ticket in particular. But also you think about what Malik Nabers was able to pull off as a rookie last year. Number 2 in targets, 170 targets. Number 7 in receiving yards, just over 1,200 receiving yards. He's already within arm's reach of leading the league last year in receiving yards. Obviously, Jamar Chase had a prolific season. Just over 1,700 yards is what got it done in 2024. But you then take a closer look and kind of contextualize the season that was for Malik Nabers, right? This was him finishing as number 7 in receiving yards when he missed 2 games and was hobbled for several other. You take his target totals and you project it out over a full 17 games, and now all of a sudden he's north of 192 targets. That would finish as tied for 7th for the most in NFL history. So we look at the players that are going to be competing with him for targets on this Giants receiving core, and there's not a whole lot of change from last year. I understand, and I think what is influencing this plus 1,200 number is the uncertainty around quarterback. We don't know who's going to start. We don't know who's going to finish. We don't know who's going to play in between. But what we do know, whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Jackson Dart, whether it's Jameis Winston, we have a combination of guys that either are not unafraid to uncork it downfield or just generally uncork it overall, right? Winston will go out there and pepper him with volume. Wilson and Jackson Dart presumably would definitely target him downfield. So it might be a bit of a revolving door at quarterback for him in 2025, but we know that he is going to be fed and he is going to get these deep downfield targets that you need if you want to win the receiving title in a given year.
I love everything you said. And obviously I've talked a lot about Nabers this year. I know you have as well, Steve, because you have him as one of your top receivers for fantasy purposes. I have that offensive rookie or offensive player of the year ticket on him as well. And the thing that's interesting here about Nabers is while I think this defense is going to be very, very good, specifically on the front end, this is arguably the toughest schedule in the NFL. So there's going to be a point where they're likely trailing in most games, and they're going to have to air it out. They're going to have to lean on someone like Malik Nabers that they spent a top 6 pick on just a season ago. So I like this call a lot from you, Eric. I think this is a sharp one. I would have liked maybe a little bit better of a number. 12-1 feels not short, but I feel like, with Jamar Chase and Puka out there, I feel like I could, if his offensive player of the year numbers is 50-1, I just think maybe a 20-1 would suit me a little bit better here. But nonetheless, I like Malik Nabers a lot. Steve, I'm throwing over to you, though, for your long shot bet of the night. And super interesting parlay that you have here that equals over a 71-1 payout, meaning if you place just $1 on this and this cashes, you're walking away with at least 70-1.
Yeah, so I got a little bold with these picks because that's how I do my parlays. I'm like, listen, all I need to do is hit one of them, and I'm like kind of like good for the year. So it starts with Baltimore winning more than 9.5 games. That feels safe. That feels safe. New England under 7.5 wins. I don't think this is a very good team. This is a bad team. And it's just a circus already. It's already a circus, right? They brought in Stephon Diggs. Whatever's going on with him in wherever he is, partying on boats, it's already a circus. Chargers going over 9.5 wins. I'm nervous about it, but Harbaugh gets wins. He does win, and they did bring in more running back talent. I don't think that's going to move the needle a ton. Trey Harris, I think, moves the needle more for the Chargers. I think that could be big. The next two are really where I live and die with this one is the Jets over 7.5 wins and making the playoffs. The New York Jets will win more than 7.5 games and make the playoffs. And after that, I have San Francisco to miss the playoffs. I am kind of out on San Francisco this year, but I'm very, very in on those frisky Jets. And I love what they did this offseason. I am all in on Justin Fields this year, not just in fantasy. I think he's going to prove that he's a starting quarterback in this league. Him and Garrett Wilson are going to have a great rapport. Breece Hall is still one of the best running backs in the league, and that defense is elite with a great defensive coordinator as their head coach. Someone who can really bring something new to that team, some energy to that team that they needed. This team it's more complete than people realize. And I think bad quarterback play has really held it back. And I think we're going to see Justin Fields, who went 5-2 as a starter last year with a worse Pittsburgh Steelers team, lead this team to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough for me because, you guys know, I'm a Frisky Jets. I mean, I'm the trademark holder of the Frisky Jets, right? And, we got the T-shirts in the closet still. I'm very much all in on the Jets most seasons. I just feel a little bit of fatigue here. Honestly, I really do. I don't like the fact that we're coming out early and we're saying, hey, we're going to make this a 3-man backfield. We're going to have, less carries for Breece Hall. I don't love to hear that when I think Breece Hall is so much better than Braylon Allen and anyone else they have in that backfield there, Isaiah Davis included. But, I mean, you make a good point. It's always tough to trust a first-year head coach, but with the pieces they have on defense, it's definitely intriguing. I just worry about the Jets legs and I worry about the San Fran legs. That's where I go. I don't know how it's tough for me to predict that NFC West for me. But as Eric said, very soft strength of schedule. So I think it's the Niners for me and it's the Jets where I struggle a little bit with this one, man. But that's why it's 71-1, right?
Right. That's why it's 71-1, and that's fine. I get it. I think one thing that people are forgetting about San Francisco is, yes, they lost a lot on defense and their offense is injured, but the teams in their division are not terrible anymore. And the Rams may well be one of the better teams in the league, even defensively. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, adding Devontae Adams is an improvement over Cooper Kupp at this point. That offense is looking better. I think we need to have a real conversation about where do the San Francisco Giants go, 49ers go, San Francisco Giants. Geez, I've been playing too much baseball. I think this could really be a turning point for the 49ers organization this year, and we may see them turn toward a rebuild soon.
Okay. I'm going to keep it in the parlay action here. I'm going to go with my Seth's Just Gonna Send It parlay of the season. This is going off at over 25-1 odds from FanDuel. And what I like to do here, I did lay 2 units on this. I love this bet. I think it's 18 legs, so there's a ton happening here, but I'm going to break it down for you the best I can. Starting with, I have 3 teams that I have 3 legs on each of them. and it starts with the Bills to make the playoffs. I feel great about that. Really great strength of schedule for them, weak division. I also have them to win the AFC East, go over 9.5 wins as well. So that's kind of 3 legs are knocking out right there. Unless something catastrophic happens, like a Josh Allen injury, I think the Bills are back on top of that division once again. I also have the Texans to make the playoffs, to win the AFC South as well, and to go over 7.5 wins. To me, I think the Texans are just miles ahead of everyone else in this division. I like the Titans. I've talked about the Titans a lot on these NFL future betting shows.
Your Super Bowl pick, right?
Oh, little long shot action in there
Yeah.
doesn't hurt 230 to 1. But I think they're at best a team that could limp their way into the 7th seed in the playoffs. The Jaguars kind of in a similar mix. A lot of exciting stuff happened with Liam Cohen, Travis Hunter, and company down there, but still have a ways to go. And I'm out on the Colts, man. I think this thing could be blown up by halfway through the season. Shane Steichen potentially out of a job, general manager to follow. So I'm going Texans to make the playoffs. Texans AFC South winner. Texans over 7.5 wins. Then I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make the playoffs, go over 7.5 wins to win the South. This is definitely maybe one of the riskier legs because we could see someone like the Atlanta Falcons maybe knock off the Bucs. However, I'm not buying it quite yet, man. I think they got a lot of question marks down there in Atlanta. I'm not sure if I necessarily believe in that coaching staff. I'm not so sure I necessarily believe in the skill players that have not been used to their full capability yet. I love Drake London. I love Bijan Robinson. Don't know what's going on with Kyle Pitts. We're hearing trade rumors already. So a lot of question marks there for me. I'm also going Baltimore Ravens to make the playoffs, go over 9.5 wins. That feels great. Philadelphia to make the playoffs, go over 9.5 wins. The Chiefs to make the playoffs, go over 9.5 wins. So I'm kind of just taking a lot of this minus money juice. And then I'm also the last 3 legs of this 18-leg parlay. 3 teams to miss the playoffs, boys. Browns. I don't think I need much more context than that. They got issues at quarterback. Do have a great defense, but at the same standpoint, don't have a lot of proven players on that offensive line. The Saints to miss the playoffs with Tyler Shuck. And then another risky leg here. I think a lot of people say the Colts to miss the playoffs. Again, I'm full fading Indianapolis this season. So, Eric, what leg burns me if there's one of them here? What do you think it is?
I believe it is the aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers leg in particular. I worry about their ability to make it out of the NFC South. They are the favorite heading in, and rightfully so by most measures. But
yeah,
I feel like I've become a broken record on these airways. I don't think we account for the volatility of head coaching or offensive coordinating or play calling changes on a season over season basis enough as a community, right? We have Liam Cohen heading out the door. Yes, Jonathan Grizzard, the Grizzler, was there last year, but this is his first time wearing that headset, holding that play calling card. We don't know exactly how he's going to respond to this moment. So not saying you necessarily have to discount him, but just an open question, right? We don't have the stability of the offense that made the Buccaneers what they were last season as a definitive checkbox heading into 2025. I also think that they kind of whiffed on the draft. They clearly needed to address the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, on volume, they went that direction more often than not. But going and using your 4th, 5th, 7th round picks to go get an edge, to go get an outside linebacker is not the same as taking one of the guys that was on the board at pick number 19 in the first round. So I think that they are going to be lagging on the defensive side. We're not sure if the offense is going to be as prolific. And the thing that you mentioned that I think is really material, I am very bullish on this year's version of the Atlanta Falcons. I think that they can come up and make a lot of noise in this conference. I think they're going to be at minimum part of the wild card conversation. They'll be on the graphic down the stretch run. And how many years have we seen this NFC South have an 8-win team?
Oh, it's gonna be a sweater. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's gonna be the sweater leg. Yeah,
this is the one that I'm most worried about. But on the whole, these are all favorites individually for a reason, right? So I think you're finding a way to get exposure to a number of odds-on, very likely outcomes, just all coupled together for a juicy 25 to 1.
Yeah, I'm hoping Benjamin Morrison, the rookie cornerback out of Notre Dame, can get back for the Bucks. He really needs to help tie up that back end that has been so leaky the past couple of seasons. He had a hip injury that deterred him from playing the rest of the season there for the Irish. So hopefully he can get back and potentially sure things up there. Steve, what leg do you hate the most real quickly here?
The number of them. You're playing this as if you're playing Madden with injuries off. It's just so many things have to go perfectly right.
Yeah, it's true.
One guy twists an ankle or breaks a bone and is out for the year. Like this leg's looking weird.
Yeah,
I do like the structure overall, right? Like if you want to take a more conservative approach, you can just break this up into pieces and have a lot of really well correlated narratives, right?
Yeah.
If the Bills are winning over 9.5 games, they're making the playoffs and they're very likely winning the AFC East, right?
Well, so you can go through and look at these
different chunks where one is tied to the other in terms of the likelihood of the outcome, and be looking maybe not at 25-1, but still some nice numbers overall.
Yeah, that's why I was so, intrigued to make this play, is that usually FanDuel won't let you put legs that are kind of correlated together, like the Bills winning the East, the Bills going over 9.5 wins to make the playoffs. So yeah, even if you don't like this, Seth's just going to send it parlay of the season. Consider maybe just breaking it up in some different legs and going after it like that. But Eric, I'm throwing it over to you for your final bet of the night here. It's an AFC exact order finish for the North. This is a bet I hit over in the AFC West last year, and I love the odds you're getting here. What do you have for us?
Yeah, plus 1,000, 10-1 for an exacto on the AFC North. My order of choice goes from Baltimore to Cincinnati to Cleveland and to Pittsburgh. Yinzers, clutch your pearls, seek emotional support. Really, before I get into the analysis of this bet in particular, I like the setup of these types of wagers, right? Where you're essentially you're picking a four-way card, but there are really two decisions that you have to make in order to get to this. You have to decide who among Baltimore and Cincinnati is going to win the division, and who among Cleveland and Pittsburgh is going to come in last place, right? So anytime that you're faced with a four-way outcome when you have to make less than four decisions is probably a wager that you should take a long look at, right? So I love how it's set up. And for me, while Cincinnati, especially on the offensive side, has shown to be prolific, they're always chasing. They can never get out of their own way. They'll open up the season and pee down their legs against the Patriots and lose several games that they shouldn't, and then make this magical run to maybe make their way into the playoffs. Could it turn around this year? Sure. I don't know if they necessarily got the requisite players that they needed on the defensive side to have a team that will compete on a win-loss basis with the Baltimore Ravens. So that gets me then to the last place team, Cleveland or Pittsburgh. The safer bet is to put Cleveland as the fourth place finisher, but that's only getting you plus 250. I want to get a nice juicy payout if I'm going to lock up my money for this long. And also, at least for me, the determining factor between whether or not Pittsburgh and Cleveland finish last in this division is relying on Aaron Rodgers. And relying on Aaron Rodgers for anything is probably a losing wager. So I think it's a non-zero chance that it is someone other than Aaron Rodgers under center for Pittsburgh, and that means bad things for the Steelers prospects in 2025.
Hey, I am a Steelers fan, but I would be for it just because we could potentially break the curse of going 9-8 and get ourselves into the top 10 mix of the NFL draft.
Go get in that arch conversation, Mike Tomlin. This is your year.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. And yeah, that's pretty much the bet you're making here. And so don't hate that at all. I got one more bet for you this episode, and I'm throwing out a bonus bet if you're into college football betting. And I'm going to go to my favorite G5 conference, the MAC. I love some MACtion, midweek MACtion once we get later in the season. And you look at most power rankings for this conference, and the Buffalo Bulls are third, yet somehow opened at 8-1 to win the conference. You can still find them some places 7-1. They've been bet down as low as plus 550. I've seen as well. And they are second to Toledo in returning production. And they bring back a 1,000-yard rusher in Al-Jay Henderson. They got their top wide receiver back, Victor Snow, who will be back on campus. They also have their top two sack leaders, Kobe Stewart and Deion Crawford, Stewart is a guy we should definitely keep in mind from an NFL draft perspective because he led the conference in sacks last season, likely positioning himself to be a day 2 pick at worst. And the favorite in this conference is Ohio to repeat. I love Parker Navarro, their quarterback. I bet Ohio a ton. I love the Bobcats. I met some of their fans at a Penn State game a couple years ago. Great folks, fine individuals, but they are dealing with Brian Smith, a first-time head coach. Toledo, on the other hand, they're undoubtedly, in my mind, the team to beat. They're the second favorite in this market, plus 250 a lot of times going off. Jason Calder, he's the head coach for them. He's been a beast heading into his 11th year. So I'll likely find a way to maybe hedge with Toledo, who had a great transfer portal. However, he's only won 2 MAC titles in 10 years as well. So looking at Buffalo individually here, they've got a good game with Minnesota off the bat. It won't affect their conference record, but then they don't play any of the other top 3 MAC opponents here that we've talked about, Toledo or Ohio, until rivalry week, the end of the season, when they get Ohio at home. The biggest question, I think, for the Buffalo Bulls this year will be quarterback, right? What do they have under center? They lost their starting signal caller last year. They do have former Penn State quarterback Taquan Robertson under center, though. He's pretty decent at UConn in 2023. He's transferred around, was at Kansas State in 2024. But I think he's at least mobile enough to kind of keep the ship in the right direction here. And at 8-1, it's a great payout, great offering there from our friends over at DraftKings. So give me a little 8-1 action on the Buffalo Bulls to be victorious in the MAC this season. Guys, great discussion. Let's go ahead, though. Let's round out the show with a segment we like to call a little off the top.
Just a little off the top. Ain't talking about a fade or a crop. Steady hand, know when to stop. Just a little off the top. Whoa, easy now.
Just a little off the top. It's our cut 1 game. And gentlemen, no bigger news in the video game world than the Madden cover for 2026 has been released. It is Saquon Barkley. You can see on the screen doing his famous backwards hurdle over a defender. I like how they blacked out the helmet there, saved that guy a little bit of disrespect there. Steve, initial thoughts on this Madden 26 cover, man?
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I will be honest. I like the deluxe editions cover a little bit better than I like the standard editions cover. I always like when they get a little stylistic with the player images. So I do think both are fantastic, though. Definitely a great cover.
Yeah, Saquon definitely deserving of it. So, guys, we're going to play a game. We're going to cut 1 of the previous Madden covers. Of course, the covers with athletes go back to 2001. We had some John Madden games before that just had him on the cover, and then he made his return in that 23 edition of the game as well. So, Eric, looking at these covers, man, first, do you have a favorite cover that really stands out to you? And what is your one that you are cutting? Which do you think is the ugliest or just unfitting at this point in time?
Oh man, I was fully prepared to cut one cover. I was not prepared to select a favorite. Give me the Sean Alexander cover from back in the day.
Yeah.
Mainly just because it is burnt into my mind. That was really my entry point into these Madden screeds, right? So I just have nothing but feels and nostalgia to cracking that thing open and hitting the stick. So that'll probably be my favorite. I might change it if you ask me 10 minutes later. Which one's got to go? There's really 2 clear choices for me. I do not like the dueling player motif of Madden 10. I think it should be one person and one person alone. You can say the same thing for 22. But the clear choice is Madden 2012, Peyton Hillis, the biggest one-hit wonder in the history of Madden covers. This guy has no business donning the cover. So smell you later, Peyton Hillis.
Man, that's my favorite one. Not only was Madden 12 an absolute rip of a game, but I remember when that tournament was going on and you could vote, and that's how Peyton Hillis ended up getting the cover of that game. And not only was Peyton Hillis great for fantasy that year, that was coming off 2011 or 2010. Yeah, at that one time, yeah. But he led me in my first ever fantasy football championship. So, I was in those streets voting for him. And
Yeah.
it was a great game. It was so fun. All my friends had it at that point. We were all playing online, leagues together and everything like that. And dude, Peyton Hillis was a force to be reckoned with in that game as well. He could absolutely truck some people if you had the hit stick going the right way. So I can't agree with you there. Steve, what do you think? What's your favorite and least favorite Madden cover here?
So I think my least favorite is the Madden 15 cover with Richard Sherman, because look at the ones around it. They had kind of gone into this like cool like action shot. Like everyone always has an action shot. And Richard Sherman is just kind of like giving you the hand. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like, I don't know what's up with that.
Looks a little like Walmart-y. You know what I mean?
It does. It's really not great. It looks like bad Photoshop. It's a really kind of letdown of a cover. I do like the 2010 through 2012 run of like those kind of grungier looks with like more art going on behind them. I do think those are great, but if I had to pick one, I don't know. There's something about that Madden 18 cover, Tom Brady on it, like kind of goes a little hard. That's a pretty great cover in my opinion. It is the GOAT edition, and I think it just captures everything you want on that cover. It really gets you ready for the game. It seems to excite people. That would be the one I would go with.
Okay. I would say, again, favorite one is definitely Peyton Hillis. Also, let's not forget, Peyton Hillis also saved a man, Eric. This guy is an American hero. Peyton Hillis saved someone from drowning.
So did Raheem Mostert and Raheem Morris, I should say, and you're over here dogging the Falcons.
Hey, sorry.
He's a child.
Sorry about it.
Child at a pool.
The one I'm going to cut just because, he stole from poor people. Brett Favre. Like,
I thought the same thing.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly. It's known.
Well, we don't want to get sued here. I know there's a couple documentaries out there, but, he sued a couple people in the media before. Yeah, I think our program might be a little not worth his time, but he could take us for the entire company. So allegedly stole from poor people. I thought it was kind of a weird, shout out to Brett Favre. Like that was in the day too, when it was like, is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? And I'm just not about that. So a couple other fun ones for me here. I thought was love the Vince Young one, like another 1 year wonder really, but Vince was really fun to play with. Madden 25, I kind of like hated how like that was a thing. Like Barry Sanders deserved to be the cover, but why was it 25? Like I guess it was like the 25th edition of Madden, right? Is that kind of what it was, Eric? Right?
I think so. Surprisingly enough, I wasn't in the room over at EA Sports when these decisions were being made, but I think it's because it is the 25th anniversary, right?
Also, Patrick Mahomes and Brady on that 22 edition, like I'm kind of good on that. Like you just had Brady and Mahomes within the past 2 years. Like it's a sick cover. It's a sick photo. I like it, but I mean, you just had these two guys on right before Lamar in 21.
Man, I don't know. I've been staring at that 22 cover the whole time we've had this graphic up, and it continues to wear on me. I don't think I like that one.
It looks like they're about to drop a really weird Christian rap album. Like it has a weird vibe to it.
The dimensions and like how off center they are relative to the negative space. It just looks kind of empty, right? That 21 with Lamar Jackson is kind of fire. I might like consider swapping that out for Sean Alexander back in the jump.
Okay. Well, guys, great analysis tonight. I appreciate everything you brought to us here on the program. We are going to close things out there, though. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you're checking out the website, inbetweenmedia.com. We got a lot of great written content for you. We also have tickets to Draft Night Out available. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're into whether that's NFL betting, college football betting, and fantasy, whether you're over on the NASCAR motorsports side of things, PGA. We also have some entertainment betting with Steve Trash Sandwiches, Jake Perry, and the gang over here on Popcorn Root Beer. So a lot happening on the channel. It's going to be a very, very fun summer for us on the program as well. So make sure you're checking us out. Make sure you're checking out Eric on Twitter at FantasyNav. Steve is at Steve_Lawson93. I'm at between_SethFF. But guys, we appreciate it. We hope we made you a little bit of money, or at least help you catch a sweat here heading into the season. Until next time, y'all know what to do. Keep it in between. Thank you.